Wilson, Oklahoma, July 1977. Chuck Norris is visiting his mother when he stops at a gas station and sees the man who tormented him throughout childhood. The bully, now struggling and broken, doesn't recognize the successful martial artist Chuck has become. What Chuck does in the next 3 minutes doesn't involve revenge or humiliation. It involves grace, forgiveness, and proving that real strength isn't defeating your enemies, it's helping them when they're down, even when they don't deserve it. The gas station is a small independent operation on Route 77, 2 pumps, a tiny convenience store, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone in a town of 1,500 people. Chuck is driving a rental car, in town for 3 days visiting his mother Wilma, who still lives in the same small house where Chuck grew up poor, where his father struggled with alcoholism, where Chuck was the small shy kid everyone picked on. That was 25 years ago. Now Chuck is 37, successful, confident, world karate champion, movie star on the rise, financially secure, everything his childhood self dreamed of becoming. But Wilson, Oklahoma hasn't changed much. Same streets, same buildings, same economic struggles, same people mostly. Chuck pulls up to pump number 1, gets out to fill his tank. The attendant approaches, a man in his early 40s, wearing stained coveralls, moving slowly like someone whose body hurts, whose life hurts. Chuck doesn't recognize him initially, just sees a tired gas station worker in a small town. The man starts pumping gas, goes through the motions mechanically, barely looking at Chuck, just another customer, another day of minimum wage work that doesn't cover bills. Then Chuck hears the voice. Rough, damaged by years of smoking and drinking, but unmistakable. The man says, $15 even. Chuck's memory flashes back instantly. That voice, Tommy Patterson, the kid who made Chuck's childhood a living hell. 3 years older than Chuck, bigger, meaner, the classic small-town bully who picked on anyone weaker. Tommy beat up Chuck regularly from ages 9 to 13, took his lunch money, shoved him into lockers, mocked him for being poor, for having an alcoholic father, for being small and weak. Tommy made Chuck hate school, hate himself, hate Wilson, Oklahoma. Every day was survival, avoiding Tommy, hoping not to be noticed, being noticed anyway, getting hurt anyway. Chuck looks at Tommy closely now. The man is haggard, aged beyond his years, face lined with stress and regret, eyes empty of the cruel spark they once had, body broken down from hard labor and harder living. This isn't the terrifying bully from Chuck's childhood. This is a defeated man barely surviving, working a dead-end job, trapped in the same small town that trapped Chuck's father, going nowhere, being nobody. Tommy doesn't recognize Chuck. Why would he? Chuck left Wilson at 18 to join the Air Force, came back maybe 3 times in 20 years, and when he did, he avoided people from his past. Tommy probably doesn't even remember the skinny kid he used to beat up. Chuck was just one of many victims, forgotten as soon as the violence ended, meaningless to Tommy then and now. Chuck has a choice. He could reveal who he is, show Tommy what he became, demonstrate that the weak kid grew into a champion, make Tommy feel small the way Tommy made him feel small. That would be satisfying, righteous revenge, well-deserved. Or Chuck could just pay, drive away, forget this encounter, let Tommy continue his miserable life without intervention. That would be easiest, safest, require nothing from Chuck emotionally, but Chuck does neither. Instead, he makes a different choice, one that surprises even himself. He says, "Tommy Patterson." Tommy looks up, confused, tries to place the face, can't, says, "Yeah, do I know you?" Chuck says calmly, "You probably don't remember me. I'm Chuck Norris. I grew up here, left in 1958. You and I went to school together." Recognition doesn't come immediately. Tommy squints, searching memory, finding nothing. Then slowly, something shifts in his face. Not full recognition, just fragments, vague memories of kids from school, too many to remember specifically. Tommy says, "Norris? I don't, maybe? It's been a long time. A lot of kids went through that school." Chuck doesn't push, doesn't say, "You used to beat me up," doesn't trigger Tommy's memory of his cruelty, just says, "Yeah, long time, how've you been?" That simple question breaks something in Tommy. Nobody asks him how he's been. Nobody cares. He's invisible, a gas station attendant in a town nobody cares about, living a life nobody envies. But this stranger, this former classmate who looks successful and put together, is asking genuinely, looking him in the eye like he matters. Tommy's defenses crack. He says, voice rough with emotion barely contained, Honestly, not great. Been working here 8 years, barely making it. Wife left, took the kids. Drink too much, same as my old man. Tried to be better, couldn't. Stuck here. Probably die here. Chuck listens, doesn't judge, doesn't offer empty platitudes, just listens. Sees in Tommy the same trap that caught Chuck's father, the cycle of poverty and self-destruction that Wilson, Oklahoma seems designed to perpetuate. Chuck got out through the Air Force, through martial arts, through refusing to accept that his childhood defined his future. Tommy didn't get out, stayed, repeated the patterns, became exactly what the town expected. Chuck says, "I'm sorry you're struggling, that's hard." Tommy shrugs, embarrassed by his own honesty, by admitting weakness to a stranger. Says, "It is what it is. Some people make it out, some don't. I didn't." Chuck pauses, then says something Tommy doesn't expect. "It's not too late. You're what, 40? That's young enough to change. I changed my life completely at 18, but I've seen people change at 50, 60. It's about deciding you're worth the effort." Tommy laughs bitterly. "Change to what? I got no skills, no education, no money, no prospects. I'm a gas station attendant in Wilson, Oklahoma. That's my ceiling." Chuck says, "That's only your ceiling if you accept it. I grew up poorer than you. Father was an alcoholic. No opportunities. Everyone told me I'd amount to nothing. I believed them for a long time. Then I stopped believing them and started building something different. Took years. Wasn't easy, but possible. Still possible for you." Tommy looks at Chuck really for the first time, trying to understand why this successful stranger cares, why he's spending time on a conversation that benefits him nothing. Tommy says, "You really think I could change? At 40, with nothing?" Chuck says, "I know you can. Won't happen overnight. Won't be easy, but you're not dead yet, which means it's not too late. Question is whether you want to." Something happens in Tommy's face. Hope, maybe, or at least the memory of hope. The feeling he hasn't felt in years. The possibility that life could be different than this. He says quietly, "I want to. Don't know how, but I want to." Chuck reaches into his wallet, pulls out $500 cash, hands it to Tommy. Tommy's eyes go wide, says, "I can't take this." Chuck says, "Yes you can. Consider it an investment. Use it to get sober, take a class, fix your car so you can look for better work, whatever you need. But use it for change, not for staying the same." Tommy takes the money with shaking hands, tears forming in his eyes, says, "Why are you doing this? You don't even know me." Chuck says, "Actually I do know you, better than you think. You made my childhood very difficult, beat me up regularly, took my lunch money, made me hate school. I remember you very well." Tommy's face goes white. Horror replaces hope. He tries to hand the money back, says, "Jesus, I'm sorry. I was a terrible kid. Took my own pain out on others. I don't deserve your help. I deserve your hatred." Chuck doesn't take the money back, says, "You're right that you don't deserve my help. You were cruel to me. You hurt me. You made years of my life miserable. But I'm not helping you because you deserve it. I'm helping you because I can, and because holding on to hatred hurts me more than it hurts you. Forgiveness isn't about you earning it. It's about me choosing not to carry that weight anymore. So keep the money, use it well, prove that people can change, be different than you were." Tommy breaks down crying right there at the gas pump. This broken middle-aged man sobbing with relief and shame and gratitude mixed together, says through tears, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what I did to you. I was awful. You were just a kid, and I hurt you, and I'm sorry." Chuck puts a hand on Tommy's shoulder, says, "I forgive you. I forgave you years ago. Now you need to forgive yourself and build something better." They talk for 10 more minutes. Chuck gives Tommy his contact information, tells him to write if he needs help, if he needs advice, if he needs encouragement, tells him about resources for addiction recovery, about community college programs, about options that exist even in small towns for people willing to work hard. Tommy listens like a drowning man being thrown a rope, desperate, hopeful, terrified it's not real. Chuck leaves that gas station changed. He thought seeing Tommy would bring back pain, old wounds, childhood trauma. Instead, it brought peace. The bully who haunted his nightmares for years is just a broken man who needs help. Helping him doesn't erase the past, but it transforms it, turns something toxic into something redemptive. 3 months later, Chuck receives a letter. Tommy's handwriting, shaky but clear, says he used the $500 to go to rehab, 30 days sober now, got a better job at a warehouse, making progress. Small steps, but real steps. Thanks Chuck for seeing him as more than his worst self, for giving him a chance he didn't deserve. Ends the letter. "You were the kid I hurt the most, and you became the man who saved me. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to deserve that kindness." Chuck writes back,
encourages Tommy, offers more help if needed, shares his own struggles with discipline and change, reminds Tommy that progress isn't linear, but persistence pays off. They correspond occasionally over the years, Chuck checking in, Tommy updating his progress. By 1982, Tommy is 5 years sober, remarried, reconnected with his kids, working as a manager at a distribution center in Oklahoma City, completely different life built from absolute bottom. In 1990, Tommy asks if he can visit Chuck in California, wants to thank him in person. Chuck invites him. Tommy flies out, nervous, stays 2 days. Chuck shows him around, introduces him to Chuck's schools, his instructors, his students, shows Tommy what's possible when you refuse to accept limitations. Before Tommy leaves, he asks Chuck, "Why did you really help me? After what I did to you, you could have just walked away." Chuck says, "Because the best revenge against someone who hurt you isn't hurting them back. It's becoming so strong that their past actions can't define you, then using that strength to help them become better. That's victory." Tommy goes home, changed again, not just by sobriety or new work, but by understanding what real strength looks like. He starts volunteering at a youth center in Oklahoma City, working with at-risk kids who remind him of himself, angry and destructive. He tells them his story, about being a bully, about hurting others, about how cruelty poisoned his life for decades. And he tells them about Chuck Norris, about the kid he beat up who became a champion, and still had the grace to help him. Uses his story as a warning, and Chuck's as inspiration. By the time Tommy dies in 2008 at age 71, he's helped hundreds of kids avoid the mistakes he made, helped dozens of adults get sober, built a legacy of redemption from a history of cruelty. At his funeral, his son tells everyone about the day in 1977, when Chuck Norris gave his father $500 and a second chance, about how that 3-minute conversation at a gas station changed their entire family's trajectory. So here's the question. Who hurt you in the past that you're still carrying hatred for? What revenge fantasies are you nursing that keep old wounds fresh? What grudge are you holding that weighs you down more than it affects them? Because Chuck Norris had every right to hate Tommy Patterson, to want revenge, to make him suffer. Instead, 3 minutes of grace transformed both their lives, turned pain into purpose, turned an enemy into a redemption story. Forgiveness isn't weakness, it's the ultimate strength. It's choosing to help the person who hurt you not because they deserve it, but because you refuse to let their past actions continue damaging your present. Who do you need to forgive? Not for them, for you. Because carrying that hatred is heavier than you think, and letting it go might save more than just your peace of mind. It might save their life.